Welcome to MTN Outdoors.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of MTN Outdoors. If you love it outside in Montana, you're in the right place. Animals? Are you kidding me? Where else could you go to have better animals than Montana? Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks is going to want to hear from you about your hunts this season because the general hunting season just ended. There's a new grizzly plan being discussed in Montana. And then there's an animal that you might know from a Marvel movie and a comic that has a new habitat at a zoo in Montana. Let's check it out.
Hey hunters, if you see a phone number in your caller ID that you don't recognize, it might be Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. They need your help. They want to know how things went while you're out there. They are doing harvest surveys by phone, and they're calling over 100,000 hunters to get information on that hunt you went on. FWP is very grateful for your help, and the information that you provide could help shape hunting policy for the state. Survey callers will never ask for sensitive information like your social security number or request donations or payments. Thank you for helping FWP gather this critical data.
In 1993, Christopher Servine wrote the report that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service currently uses to manage grizzly bears in the northern Rockies. More than 30 years later, he made some edits.
I've been working on this revision for the better part of a year, and it just happens to be completed now.
Though it came well after his retirement as the agency's Grizzly Bear Recovery Coordinator and University of Montana adjunct professor, Servine's updated report coincides with a critical moment for the future of western grizzlies.
There was no intention to pose this or release this just prior to the decision on delisting or not. They just happened to be at the same time.
The Fish and Wildlife Service has less than 45 days to decide on Wyoming's petition to delist grizzly bears, removing their protections under the Endangered Species Act. This, along with requests from Montana and Idaho, could have major impacts on bear management. Conservation organizations jumped at the chance to get Servine's report to the agency before their deadline, filing a petition on Wednesday.
The service has been managing bears under the same plan for the last 31 years. And yet so much has changed in the world of grizzly bear science and conservation over the last 3 decades.
Using Servine's report, the petition asked the agency to update the 1993 Grizzly Bear Recovery Plan, calling on Fish and Wildlife to adopt a metapopulation approach, managing bears in Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, and eastern Washington as a unified group, with a focus on areas connecting bear hotspots like the greater Yellowstone ecosystem and the northern Continental Divide ecosystem.
When we started the recovery effort, there were perhaps 300 to 400 grizzly bears in these 4 areas. And today we have about 2,000 grizzly bears from the Yellowstone ecosystem north to the Canadian border, almost all of them in these 4 ecosystems. But you'll note that they're existing outside the ecosystems and they're trying to connect between them today.
The 15 organizations behind the petition say it provides a path forward towards a healthy, resilient grizzly bear population in the lower 48. If adopted, they say it could bring resources to reduce human-bear conflicts, improve coexistence, and ensure populations don't decline as soon as their protected status goes away. U.S. Fish and Wildlife could not be reached for comment on this petition. In Missoula, Caroline Weiss, MTN News.
Zoo Montana was in the spotlight Friday morning as Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom filmed one of their episodes here in Billings, all about the cute and curious Wolverine in the name of conservation.
You are ready for your close-up.
They may look like grizzly bears with their large claws and snouts, but these fluffy and friendly animals are actually a part of the weasel family.
They're an amazing animal to talk about. You know, they're just so elusive. Not many people get to see them in the wild, but they're right here in the state of Montana.
If you can't catch them in the wild, you can see them at Zoo Montana. In fact, kids have been born each of the last 2 years at the facility. A very rare sight.
We are so incredibly proud that we are a breeding facility for Wolverines. And that may not sound like much, but it's a big deal because the Wolverine that was born last year, Enda is her name, she was the only Wolverine born in North America in any zoological park.
Not every zoo is made equal.
And so zoos like Zoo Montana that are AZA accredited, that really demonstrates that the zoo is an active part of wildlife conservation.
It's why Wild Kingdom co-host Dr. Ray Wynn Grant found herself in Billings Friday. The wolverine may look scary from the outside, but up close they're very sociable creatures.
They're also popular for the culture, right? I mean, we have entire superheroes named after wolverines. And so that means that we wanted to really get to know them better.
Unfortunately, though, their population is slowly declining.
Wolverines are endangered. They face a lot of threats, and yet they're a super important carnivore to the forest ecosystems.
Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, featured on NBC and Animal Planet, focuses on conservation efforts across the globe. Aside from special conservation efforts to protect this lovable animal, Grant says we can also learn from these cute creatures.
Stay curious. I love to tell everybody that no matter who you are, where you come from, or what your skill set is, there's a role for you in wildlife and nature conservation.
In Billings, Matt Carmack, MTN News.
After 16 years of serving as Red Lodge Mountain's GM, Jeff Schmidt has announced he's retiring. There's been a lot of changes during his tenure, but he's managed to adapt to them all as the ski mountain business continues to change.
We take it as it comes.
That's been the mindset at Red Lodge Mountain the past 2 decades.
The mountain is still the mountain.
But the industry is ever changing.
We've changed how we access it and try to be more efficient.
That efficiency is most apparent early in the season. Red Lodge consistently is able to open Thanksgiving weekend every year because they can make their own snow.
I would say our biggest asset to us is our snowmaking system. We would not be in business if we didn't have it.
An example of the mountain's efforts at staying competitive, something that's become a challenge for some not so far away.
Last year was super frustrating for us.
Across state lines, Sleeping Giant ski area west of Cody, Wyoming has had a tumultuous past few years, thanks in large part to the weather.
Not having those cold temperatures at night is just a killer because you can't make snow because it's too warm.
It's a big reason why owner Nick Piazza has decided not to open Sleeping Giant again this winter. He's now looking for a full-time partner or someone to outright buy it.
We have other businesses and, I don't think my whole life can be Sleeping Giant.
But they did see one success, a first-time summer season for outdoor enthusiasts. Red Lodge did the same for hikers, bikers, even a new disc golf course.
It exceeded expectations greatly.
Schmidt says the mountain made 5 times what they had predicted, a helpful boost that will hopefully continue.
It's a different perspective and it's a whole nother crowd, and hopefully they'll get the desire to come back and ride in the wintertime.
It's those crowds and that atmosphere Schmidt's come to love and what he has aimed to keep. Though ironically, at the end of this season, he will be the biggest change.
I've had a good run in the ski biz ever since I was 26.
In Red Lodge, Charlie Kleps, MTN News.
Now return to MTN Outdoors.
Welcome back, guys. As you see, that's Helena behind me. And just this week, there was a cloud inversion. That's when warm air traps cool air beneath it. It has a really cool effect. Basically, you could see the entire city there. It looks like a carpet of clouds right there. It was awesome. Winter is coming, eventually. Skiers are a little anxious. People who want to do things outside, ice skate, hockey, or whatever, just be patient. It's coming. In the meantime, enjoy this beautiful land. We're going to talk about skiing, we're going to talk about some of the activities you can do, and we're going to talk about state parks and Yellowstone National Park and what's to come there right now. Thanks, guys. Take a look.
I'm MTN's Heaven Vane, and I'm here at the Emerson Building, where each year lovers of the extreme sport ice climbing gather together as a community for the Boseman Ice Festival.
Definitely felt a lot of fear and also this real sense of, when do I get to do that again?
That's Liam Lonsdale, presenter of the Boseman Ice Festival and 20-year ice climbing veteran, recounting his first experience with the sport.
I'm from the UK, and we have a pretty fierce but small winter climbing scene there. And so we're always looking outward to see what other people are doing, and Boseman has always been on the map.
Liam says that Boseman's unique community makes it an international hotspot for ice climbers.
There's so many climbers and skiers and outdoors folk in general. I think just visiting Boseman itself has a real palpable energy of how psyched everybody is to get out and climb.
He explains that the Ice Festival began in 1996 when two retailers, Barrel Mountaineering and Northern Lights Trading Co., wanted to bring the ice climbing community together.
2024 is the 28th year of the Boseman Ice Festival. And now, it's just evolved into this incredible gathering of international community.
Liam says the festival can be split into two parts: the clinics in Highlight or at Spire Gym that teach the basics of climbing and even rescue, and then the curated content highlighting all that's great about ice climbing.
This is where the community kind of gets to enjoy each other in a warmer setting. So, we have the bar, Bridge of Brewing here, we have all the brands showing off their latest gear.
And while clinics up in the canyon have sold out far in advance, there are still plenty of opportunities to get involved. Visit our website for ticketing info. In Boseman, Heaven Van, MTN News.
A unique piece of property that has a long-standing history here in central Montana may soon become Montana's 56th state park.
It's such a varied history. That's really what is so important about that area, and why FWP feels that a state park would be a good fit for that site. A site that can really talk about some of the early history of Montana and even exploration and settlement of the West.
109 acres were donated by the American Prairie to preserve indigenous and American history, as well as the natural beauty of the Montana landscape.
The ability to talk about the history of that area, but it's establishing a state park in a part of the state that doesn't have any state parks. So it's expanding the reach of the state park program. There's the potential that a state park in that area could also have some economic benefits to some of those local communities that are along the route to it, such as Winifred and Big Sandy.
There's still time to make public comment on this historical piece of property.
It's just that cultural significance is really the important part of this whole thing, and that's why, again, FWP feels that it would make a wonderful state park to discuss that, with lots of interpretive opportunities for the public, as well as some recreational opportunities that could include trails and camping.
Preserving our land and history is vitally important. The acquisition to acquire the land is still pending public comment and board approval. But overall, the FWP feels the Judith Landing property will become Montana's newest state park. In Great Falls, I'm Paul Sanchez for MTN News.
For the second year in a row, you can see that the snow here at the west entrance to the park is just enough to swing open those gates at the entrance to the park. It's not always this way. Just 3 years ago, I stood right here in about 3 feet of snow, but there might be some help on the way. The Storm Tracker weather app shows snow is forecast for Saturday and Sunday.
We're at the mercy of the snow gods right now.
There is a chance for snow. We have a storm system moving in.
But right now, snowmobiles and metal-tracked snow coaches are not allowed in from West Yellowstone to Old Faithful, Mammoth, or even Canyon.
It's really a safety issue. There's just so little snow and lengthy sections of bare pavement that it is, for instance, you can't steer a snowmobile on bare pavement. And it's one thing when you have a bare patch that maybe is, 20 feet long or something in some of the thermal areas, but when you have miles of bare pavement, it's not safe.
For instance, look at this photo from the Old Faithful camera. Roads and an entire parking lot have no snow at all.
Early enough in the season, it's not terrible, but it is changing some plans. So we've been reaching out and contacting folks and let them know, hey, we got a couple options for you, and see what they do. Most of them have just said, well, I just want to see Old Faithful, so stick me on a snow coach.
You can see those wheeled snow coaches staged right now in Mammoth and West Yellowstone, ready for the Sunday park opening.
It's looking and trending like it's going to be a great year once the snow does drop.
So our bookings are indicating this will be our busiest winter.
But Christmas through New Year's week is critical, so there are high hopes for snow.
It does appear that the southern end of the park will probably see heavier snow bands at times, especially Saturday night into Sunday morning. The northern end of the park, probably less than an inch.
I've seen this so many years that a lot of times we will get that one big event, and sometimes it's the day before we're supposed to open or a few days after that, you know, we make that call and can change over, but it's not there yet.
In West Yellowstone, I'm John Shearer, MTN News.
Hang around for more MTN Outdoors. We'll be right back, guys. Thanks for watching MTN Outdoors.
We now return to MTN Outdoors.
Christmas is coming. It's right around the corner, and there are a lot of traditions that families and people around the country and world will be doing during that time. One thing that people do around here in Montana is a bird count. It's when they go around and they look for different species of birds, and they see how many they can count over a week period. So along with traditions, there are a lot of colors and lights that you might be used to. Joey Bianconi, our meteorologist at KTVH, is going to be telling us why certain colors are the way they are in the sky. Stay tuned, guys.
10 teams of birders set out in Great Falls to participate in the 125th annual Christmas bird count to create a census of numbers and species of birds led by members of the Upper Missouri Breaks Audubon Society.
The Christmas bird count is one of the longest-running global citizen science projects. Each winter, thousands of volunteers across the world gather within their 15-mile diameter designated areas to count as many birds and species as they can.
Had over 200 geese this morning here, over 200 common goldeneyes. We've had 2 great horned owls, a bald eagle.
Montana has 36 potential bird counting areas. Data from 2022 shows that 31 of the count circles were surveyed by volunteers, tallying 133 bird species, less than the average 142 species from previous years. The count provides data to researchers about bird migration patterns, climate change effects, and overall health of bird populations. The Upper Missouri Breaks Audubon Society has bird counting data from the same 15-mile area in Great Falls, dating back to 1911.
How the bird populations numbers are changing, but not only that, but where the populations are shifting. You can see how populations shift this direction to the northwest or to the northeast, or maybe they're not being seen at all. But it also shows how climate changing is warmer. They're not going as far south, or they're going further north.
The count is available to participants at any level to learn about bird species and how to identify them from experienced birders. This year was amateur birder Andrew Marciniak's first year participating.
There's so much more experience than I have just looking in a book and seeing the different sizes and different ways to look at them and pick them out has been really helpful.
It's always fun to see because you see something different, or you see your old friends. The owls, it's like, there you are, hi!
At the end of the day, the 10 groups will come together to share their findings to be analyzed by the Upper Missouri Breaks Audubon Society. In Great Falls, Anissa Coomer, MTN News.
Well, normally we are treated to magnificent color across Montana's big sky. Just today, not so much, and not for most of the month of December. But you may be wondering what causes those colors in the sky. Well, we're going to take a look at how we see the colors we do. It is common knowledge that our background sky color in the daytime is blue. But why is this? Why do we even see the color blue and not just outer space? Well, this is due to a process called Rayleigh scattering. Light is a form of electromagnetic radiation. The sun emits all sorts of radiation, but the type that we can see is known as visible light, which consists of every known color. As visible light reaches the Earth, it encounters gas molecules in our atmosphere. Since the molecules are smaller than the wavelength of visible light, some of the energy is scattered by the molecule, while the rest is absorbed. Blue light is scattered the most due to its shorter wavelength, so this is the color we see. The higher up in elevation you are, the less blue sky there will appear to be. This is because there are less air molecules for the visible light to be reflected off. Sunrises and sunsets appear redder because the light must travel further through our atmosphere to reach the observer, as opposed to being directly overhead. So only the longer wavelength colors like red, orange, and yellow are visible. There are some other smaller scale atmospheric phenomena that can create some beautiful sky colors, like rainbows and auroras. Rainbows are visible when light interacts with water droplets. The light is refracted or bent as it passes through the raindrops. Since raindrops are circular, the reflection it creates is also circular. But we don't see the full circle because the ground we stand on gets in the way, so we see a bow shape instead. Auroras, or northern lights, are caused by charged particles from the sun hitting molecules high up in the Earth's atmosphere. The particles follow the Earth's magnetic field and gets funneled into the poles. Once they reach the upper atmosphere, they interact with nitrogen and oxygen molecules to create dazzling light displays in the night sky. The color of the aurora is dependent on the height of the interaction as well as the type of molecule the particles interact with. And now, you're a little more weather-wise.
Thank you for watching MTN Outdoors. Here's wishing you a safe but memorable holidays with your family.